There we go.
Okay. All right. Sorry, everybody. We had some technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us tonight for Tuesday Night Movie Talk. We had a really good time watching Goodfellas today. Going in, I immediately knew this movie was phenomenal because I've seen this. How many times have I seen this? I think I've seen this maybe 4 or 5 times over the course of 2.5 years. The first time I
Wow.
saw it was the very first movie that kind of kicked off movie night way before we started doing this stream. And I instantly fell in love with it. Oh my gosh. It's just, there's really no movie like this one. Goodfellas is just special, absolutely special. And Luke and me were very excited to tell you all about it. Before we get into that, though, Luke, how are you doing? You doing good? You having a good
I'm
day
doing
so
great.
far?
Oh
You
yeah.
feeling good after watching the movie because it's your first time, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Brilliant movie. I mean, Scorsese. Never could fail. Scorsese.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen so far. I have not seen a Scorsese film I have not enjoyed so far. I think Killers of the Flower Moon was his last one, and I think that's
Ooh,
probably
that was
like
him.
on the lower end for me compared to like everything else we've seen
I heard that was a great
because
one.
it was good. It's high quality, which stands out nowadays. It was really, I don't know. It's hit or miss. Maybe we'll talk about that one of these days. Yeah, sorry, Proctophile. We're a little late today, just getting things ready. We had a lot to soak in. I mean, this movie, it's it's
I'm still
insane
soaking
how
it in.
much they pack in here. They pack so much into
Mm-hmm.
Goodfellas, and just seeing it again is a real pleasure. It's been, I don't know how long it's been since the last time I saw it. You said you saw it for the first time.
Yeah, you mentioned the last time you saw it, you weren't really paying attention.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Did I say that?
Yeah, you said you were like nodding off. You were like falling asleep or whatever.
Oh no, I was talking about a different movie.
Oh,
No, I
I
was
was
talking about something
mistaken.
else, not this. No, of course not. Yeah, this movie garners your full attention. So what we're planning on doing in the stream today is there's so much to talk about. There's so much to break down. So Luke and me, we're going to go through this story piece by piece because it's not directly labeled in chapters, but I was able to break it down into a few chapters because the entire movie it spans across the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I mean, that's a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
that passes, and it goes so smoothly that you don't really think twice about it. And that was something I kind of noticed that I respected right off the bat today was just the very subtle visual cues, especially with Robert De Niro. I think he stuck out the most because he starts off with this like handsome, really like young hot shot, and over time he just gets a little more gray. Then it looks like he has a little less hair, that he's
I
got these
noticed
giant
that.
glasses on. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean it's subtle, but it's
yeah, the
I don't
hair
know,
I
it
really
works
noticed.
though, right?
A lot of
So
jail time.
yeah, jail time will definitely stress you out. And you know what?
Yeah.
This movie, it just has so many exciting elements. It's just full of just juicy, rich story that is that works all the way through. There isn't really a certain segment of this film, like a massive segment that I wouldn't want to cut out because everything just seems to work for the purpose of the story continuing. Um, I think before I get into the nitty gritty, let me just spell it out for you a little bit. Let's get Goodfellas picture here. So Goodfellas, it stars, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Joe Pesci. All three of these guys, they're all gangsters, and they're all pretty different from one another. Right off the bat, we're introduced to a young Henry Hill, which is Ray Liotta's character as a young man. He's young, he's optimistic, and he loves the luxuries of all of these fancy gangsters that are in like the deep kind of the hood of Brooklyn, New York, and he's interested in finding a way to get to that place. So he kind of finds a way to wiggle himself into some trouble, and you know what? We fast forward another 10 years later, and we see a much older, more experienced, much more refined Henry Hill, and that's Ray Liotta here. And this character, wow, we have a lot to talk about with him because he is, of course, the central character that leads this story. And without him, this movie it just would not be the same. Ray Liotta steals the show in this, and he brings a sort of swagger that really you don't see anymore. And somehow, like to me, it's so unique. It's unlike anything that Robert De Niro or Joe Pesci brings, because oddly enough, Joe Pesci also has some sort of swagger in this, and De Niro always carries that in these older 90s films. But Ray Liotta, he really stands out in a truly unique way. So we're going to get more into that later. But this film, it features these guys kind of rising gangsters getting into some trouble. They're working for a capo, sort of like a big mobster mob boss named Paulie. They're sort of doing some jobs for him. It's all a pretty clean, well, I don't know. It's a somewhat clean crime family. Exactly, they're not interested in drugs. They try not to murder initially, and they're just a bunch of thieves. They steal, they they create heists, they cause trouble, and they barter their way through a lot of things, and money gets them far, and money supports pretty much every pleasure that they have in this, because these guys live the high life. They live the luxurious life. But a lot of that sort of becomes at risk at times when one character or two decides to make some really damning mistakes throughout the movie. And a lot of these mistakes end up causing absolute havoc by the end of the film. And we sort of just watch this crime family, this group of friends, this crime family, keyword family, fall apart, because although it's a bunch of gangsters involved here, these guys, they love each other. Everyone loves each other. They have absolute trust in one another for the most part, especially in the beginning. And everyone knows each other. Everyone's friends. Everyone is always in the presence of one another. And it's real special, but that does not last for long. And that's sort of the central story of this entire narrative. And it's just taken from start to finish so beautifully. It's very exciting. Luke, so as we mentioned earlier, this was your first time watching Goodfellas. I think that's sort of a pleasure a lot of us wish we could have again. I remember when I first watched this, I was just blown away. I couldn't believe what I stumbled into. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I knew nothing about Goodfellas. I knew about The Godfather. I had no idea who Martin Scorsese was. I was not familiar with his work. But today, you had the pleasure of experiencing this for yourself. When you went in to see this, did you know anything about Goodfellas? Have you heard anything about it? What
I
was
knew
your
it.
impression?
I knew it was like the mob type movie. Kind of like Godfather, and what's that movie that we were watching the preview with Robert De Niro? It was like the
Yeah, I don't remember what that's called either.
it,
It was like Bronx Tale, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was that type mob deal. I personally loved it. I like the Italian mafia vibe with all like it's all about loyalty and betrayal, like your brothers. But
Hmm.
you know I don't want to go into too much into depth with like the events that happened with the betrayal and everything yet. I know I have a lot to say about the
Hmm.
Joe Pesci. I can't wait to talk about his character.
Uh-huh. Oh
That
yeah.
was he was by far my favorite. I'd like to give him just a couple words. Blunt, ruthless.
Mm.
It's blunt and
Oh
ruthless.
yeah.
That was
He's probably the
insane.
most blunt character in
Oh
cinema today. I don't think there's any other character more blunt than Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
yeah, but yeah,
Gosh.
I went into it, knowing it was that type of movie, and got a lot of laughs out of it. So
Yeah,
not
it's surprisingly funny. I don't know, like
yeah
the
the
and
way
not in like we're not like laughing at it because it's stupid. No, not at all. I mean,
no,
these
Ray
guys are hilarious.
Liotta, like his performance with like whenever he laughed, that was just so funny. Like I can't even
Oh
explain it.
gosh, let's
You'd have
just
to
talk
watch it
about it
again.
now. Everybody wants to hear it. Of course, this
Yeah,
is the
there we
highlight. I
go.
mean,
Yes,
this is
there we go.
really the best. It's really the best part of the whole movie.
I loved
Just
that part.
straight up.
It's hilarious.
I mean, this is okay. Tell us, Luke, because you didn't know. You've probably maybe you've seen these images before because these are iconic of Ray Liotta's laugh. There's
So
really
funny.
nothing else like it. So you thought, okay, well, what did you feel? How did that make you feel? Did you think that it was like?
I
Do
thought
you
he was
think
just
he
being
looked
like
stupid? Do you think he looked kind of cool?
I
Do you think he
thought
looked like what do you think?
at first I thought he was being like kind of a kiss ass,
Mhm.
just like trying to laugh at his jokes to try to get him to appreciate him or whatever. And then I actually wait, who was it? Not Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci.
Hmm.
I actually
Tommy.
bought yeah, I bought that joke he was doing when he was like interrogating him. He was like, "So, am I funny?" And like, "Am
Uh-huh. Oh
I
yeah.
funny or why are you just laughing at me?" I was like, "What just happened?" And then yeah, the whole scene, you just have to see it. I wish you could play it. Are you able to play
I
it? Or
know. I don't know. I don't really, unfortunately, I don't exactly know how the clips work with these streams. Like if you show a clip, you get like in trouble or something. That's something I need to learn.
Gord
If
King, I
somebody in the
agree.
chat has any advice, because that's good to know. I think everybody knows this scene though. I mean, it's a standout in the film. I
It's so
think
funny.
I remember the first time I saw it, watching like Ray Liotta. I thought he was kind of he's an odd looking actor, and he's a really odd looking character in this. He's supposed to be this like handsome, ultra confident playboy in a way, right? Um, and I was like, this guy, how's he other than his charm, he just kind of had a funny look to him. And especially his laugh. You know what I mean? This is an ugly laugh. But you know what? After I saw it, I initially thought it was just real silly and it looked stupid. And then I was thinking, I love how original it is. I love how like this sounds stupid, but this laugh just shows you that he is comfortable in his own skin. He's comfortable with who he is. And it doesn't matter if he looks funny. It doesn't, because we're all having a good time here, all him and his friends. And I think it's just like it's a confident laugh that really just stands out. And it's funny. You know what I mean? Like in this scene, if people aren't familiar with it, I know it's ridiculous we're even talking about this, but I mean, when you think of Goodfellas, you think of Ray Liotta's laugh. This is really unmatched in any film altogether. Super obnoxious, loud, and he has this. He just has this funny look about him. But what's happening here is, Joe Pesci's character. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of him. This
Cracking
isn't
jokes.
this is unfortunately some poor foreshadowing here, but that's Joe Pesci right there. He's the funny guy. He's he busting balls and stuff. Everyone thinks he's hilarious. He's, ultra confident, but like you said, Luke, he's very blunt and ruthless. And that's
He's
something
evil.
I definitely want to get into the character profiles later because these characters go through so much throughout the entire movie. And you know what? At first, you see Joe Pesci here, especially in this scene. Like, I can't imagine you had any idea what was to come from him. But you see him as this funny ball buster, having a good time with the guys, and everyone loves him, life of the party. And then all of a sudden, he is just pure evil. And he takes this scene from a lighthearted, fun time, just making each other laugh, busted balls, and then he gets super serious when an accomplice or like I don't know someone that works for him approaches him and embarrasses him in front of his friends, which he smashes his head with a glass
And
bottle,
they
and then everyone
continue
continues
laughing.
to laugh. Yeah, and
Oh,
then he
so good.
also, like you said, Luke, he also gets all hard ass on Ray Liotta, Henry Hill, because he didn't like what Henry said, and he was talking about he's like, hey, you're a funny guy, you're a funny guy.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
Gore King says, yeah, Gore King, you said it well.
What do you say?
Just what Joe Pesci said to Ray Liotta.
Oh, this, yeah, yeah. Whoa, funny guy. What do you mean funny? Like funny how? Is he a clown? Do I amuse you? Yeah, good one, Gord King. Oh yeah. And that's when you saw it's like tension just immediately strikes you. You like this is a defining moment into the film. This happens pretty early on. And I think this is like a little wake-up call right off the bat to remind you that do not get comfortable watching this. Don't get comfortable with your preconceived notions of who these characters are because you don't know them and you do not know what they're capable of. And this film continues to follow through on that concept time and time again from start to finish. You really have no idea what these guys are interested in doing, what their motives are sometimes, and what they're scheming in the background. Even your closest confidants, even the closest friends in here are sometimes they're just not as clean as you think they are, and it's might not be worth telling them everything you know about a certain situation. So yeah, this was the start of that. Joe Pesci is that in the end of the day busting balls here, but he gets that way with so many different people throughout this movie, and he does not take ball busting, he does not take it well when it's coming his way. He gets really butthurt about it, I mean, he goes so far as
Murder.
gosh, you know what? I feel like there's not, I don't know if you're allowed to say, I think you could say kill, like, in the streams. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's one of the words or not. But I was gonna say, when I was reading about it, because I wanted, like, to get some more details, like, whacking was a good word they used, and I feel like that's, like, so appropriate for this too, so I might say
Whacking.
whacking some more. I don't know, but he definitely
Whacking.
takes things a little too far. We'll get into him a little later. Let's start back at the 1950s, because like I said, this movie, I think this is something just so exciting about this film is it's the life of Henry Hill. And it's, of course, he's the main focus. And we see him even through, the gaze of a younger man as a young actor. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to add all the pictures here, so I'm just going to put that there. But in the very beginning, we're introduced to a young Henry Hill. Like I said in the very beginning of the stream, he's a wide-eyed optimist. He's in a low-income house. His dad works all day.
Abusive
Mom
father.
and dad, they just can barely get by in this house in Brooklyn, New York, very poor. And he, you know what? He wants a taste of the high life. He sees the guys downtown and he sees their influence. He sees the respect they have. And he sees, they got the nice cars, they got the ladies, they have everything they want in their life. And they seem to just be gliding through life, getting what they want and working in a fashion that suits them, in a fashion that they're attracted to. So he's immediately interested in this. And he finds his way to mosey into the mob business, just doing simple little jobs. And, as time progresses, he ends up causing more damage, blowing up cars, getting involved in violent acts. And this is where we get introduced to a lot of these other characters at a young age as well. We're introduced to a young Joe Pesci, which looks nothing like Joe Pesci as a young man, but he's equally just as witty. He's nowhere as evil as he will be in the future. And then we also see a younger Robert De Niro. He's literally just played by De Niro still. So I guess he's sort of like in his like early 20s at that point. He definitely did not look like it entirely, but something that immediately stuck out to me. And I remember when I first watched Goodfellas, my buddy Neil and me, we took a liking to one simple little action that Robert De Niro's character Jimmy did in this film that we wish that we had the influence and the I don't know, I guess the wealth to do this. I love how Jimmy, Robert De Niro, when he meets people, he greets them. Everybody loves to see him, and he slips a 20 in their pocket just subtly. I think that is the most boss move ever. I remember first time I watched this, I was just blown away by that. Something so simple, but makes so sense. It's just so cool. It's I don't know. I think it's a show of power, it's a show of influence, and it makes a big difference. He makes so many connections through this, and he really is like he takes Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci kind of under his wing. Definitely Ray Liotta, young Ray Liotta, and Henry Hill. I think people know them by their actors' names, so I might just call everybody by their actors' names. But it's we see a little bit of that in the making, but De Niro, he's a smooth talker. He really knows what he's doing, and he's mostly running the show. And you know what? This is something that I was like initially kind of like surprised by. The crime that these guys get into, it's not like super evil right off the bat. It's theft, which is terrible, obviously, and bribery, and I guess manipulation, which are all terrible things, but it's not as bad as you think it would go. I mean, we're talking about the mob here. So I was like, okay, I guess this isn't going to be one of those movies. Of course, that turns on its head, total 180 later on. But these guys, they make a lot of money doing simple things. They make deals with truck drivers. With these truck drivers, they they take a bunch of the stock. Then the owner or the truck driver, they'll report it as stolen. They do this time and time again. They have deals with the cops. The cops come, they'll get a little piece of the action, then they'll keep on driving away. It all worked out perfectly fine for them. And these guys benefited from this. And this is about the time when we jump to, well, actually, yeah, this is about the time we jump to the 1960s when things start to get a little bit more interesting. The 50s timeline with young Henry isn't as exciting, but once we get into Ray Liotta, everything really starts to heat up, and this is when we start to enjoy the luxuries of the high life that these characters live. And Luke, I want to throw you into this because I've been talking too long. What did you think of like this the 60s period? So this is the 60s period was let's see. Yeah, so this was about the time where we started to see Ray Liotta's character develop, where we saw him with Paulie, with the guys. You know, they're starting to accrue just tons of wealth, all the influence. You know, we see Ray Liotta develop his relationship with his wife, and
Which one?
everything seems it's all is hunky dory here. Everyone's happy. There hasn't really been any problems in the early 60s time period. What did you
Yeah.
think of this section of the film? Because shit did not hit the fan yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point right there. That's it's fun and all, showing all the power and all the power moves of like, the wealth, brushing what do you call it? Not you can't what word can't you use? Like what's the substitute here?
For
Whack.
what? Oh,
Whack.
whack. Yeah, sure. Just say
Yeah.
whack. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
we already
I
said
love
the
how
other
we're
one.
brushing whack off like it's nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's still a
I,
terrible
I,
thing.
I love that. Like that's nothing. That's just the '60s. Like, they can get away with that. I
Hmm.
feel like it was, it was, good storyline that saved it. But it didn't really get exciting for me, until like Joe Pesci's character really opened up.
Mm.
I feel like they did show what part was that when the whole trunk thing was that the '60s or that was later on, right?
Hmm.
Like
I
where
don't
they
know. That's pretty early on in the movie. I would say that's probably during the 60s time period.
yeah, it was pretty bad. The business was starting to get a little rough. There were a few snitches, um, which that didn't end up well. So I did enjoy a lot of like you know the scenes where they outed these guys.
Hmm.
But that was really the highlight of the movie for me in like the '60s, '70s, and '80s. Just like the scenes when uh, shit hit the fan when they found out the snitches who were who was it? I,
Don't spoil it yet, Luke.
I'm
That's
not
towards the
spo-
end of the movie.
I'm not no, I'm not talking about those guys. There were some in the middle.
Oh, wait a second.
No, wait, no, wait,
Was
he
there a
didn't.
snitch early on in the movie?
No,
I
he
don't
just
remember.
disrespect. No, he was just being disrespectful.
Yeah, yeah. There was a
Yeah,
lot of yeah. I
no.
mean, we started to
Okay,
see Joe
sorry.
Pesci
Sorry.
freak out because of all the
Yeah,
disrespectful guys.
yeah. I
Oh,
mixed
that was
that
a
up.
great scene. Yeah. Well, why don't
Yeah.
you tell the audience about that scene because that's a classic.
Okay. So no, are you talking about the bartender guy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Oh,
well
that.
actually, not the you're talking about
Or
the one with the trunk. You're talking about that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah, talk about that one. That's a good scene.
so basically, they were just having just a little argument in the bar. That guy was all talk. He was kind of like, "All right, yeah, come at me," and he knew he wasn't going to come at him because uh, Joe Pesci's character had all these guys pulling him away, and you're like, "Okay, well, I got wins, unfortunately." And later that night, they all come in and swarm him and hold him down, uh, beat him to death, basically.
Oh yeah.
Robert De Niro is just kicking him on the floor while Joe Pesci's what is he? No, that's not the scene where he's hitting him with the gun, right?
No, no, wait. Actually, I think
He's
so.
just
Yeah. Well, I
he's just
mean, that happens a few times.
yeah, he's just beating him on the floor, and then they throw him in a trunk and begin to like shank him,
Mhm.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
blow him away in the trunk. And then the funniest part is when Ray Liotta's character is, his wife's just walking by. She's like, "Oh, what's that smell?" He's like, "Oh, I ran over a skunk." And he
Oh
just like
yeah, of
spray.
course.
I'm like, okay, so you're gonna spray inside of your car with all this blood when you ran over a skunk. That was okay. So yeah, that's my favorite part of the '60s, I believe.
That's a good scene. I think yeah, that's what it was like. It's sad. It was sad to see, like, right off the bat, it seemed like he had a great relationship with his like soon to be. Well, actually, I don't know. I can't even say that. Right off the bat, it did not seem that good. I think like when he began to develop a relationship with his wife, I was definitely interested because she she's an interesting character. Karen, his wife, she is, uh, I really have no idea why she was interested in him right off the bat. I think this is about to bring up one of my favorite scenes. Is during this timeline was when Joe Pesci, Ray Liotta, and Karen, they sort of go on like a double date. Ray Liotta, he has no interest in going out and anything like long term. He has no interest in that. He wants to hang out with the guys. He wants to make money. And gosh, his lack of interest really shows when they go on this double date. Completely uninterested. And it's pretty hard to watch. It does not go very well. They end up, for whatever reason, she agrees to go on a second double date, and he doesn't even show up. She freaks out. She flips out, and she forces Joe Pesci to drive him all the way over to where Ray Liotta's hanging out, because he's not just working, he's hanging out with the guys. He did not want to go out on this date. And she screams at him, she freaks out on him, and he is like, whoa, this is kind of hot. I'm sort of into her now. And then from that point onward, they started to develop an interesting relationship. And I loved at this point, we got to see just how much influence that Ray Liotta's Henry has in the movie. I love the scene where he goes to the fancy restaurant and they pull. I mean, he goes right through the restaurant, super busy. He gets straight to the front of the line, walks through the back entrance, pretty much welcomed with applause. And he's such a special person that the host, he grabs a table from the back, puts the table all the way at the front of the stage, so he's got front stage access. It's perfect. It's beautiful. And he's sort of become influential like Robert De Niro was when he was young. He's slipping money in people's pockets, and everyone knows him, everyone loves him. And this is also another one of those classic scenes where I guess this is sort of becoming like almost a famous trope for Martin Scorsese, is like introducing a bunch of characters that are sort of like not exactly important to the story. Like there's one scene where um he's walking through and he's meeting all of these people that are sitting down for dinner, and all their names are, all their funny names or nicknames are being called off. It's like, we actually don't really see any of those characters at all after that point, but it's just a great way to build this world, because this is like this time period, and the series of events that happen in this film, it's like a whole new world. And it's built so authentically. I feel like we're thrown back in this time frame. And the fashion, especially, I love the fashion in this. These guys, they dress with swagger, they dress clean. And I kind of want to adopt this style. I love this look here of the, I don't know if you're the one that mentioned it. It might have been the other Jackson, but mentioned the collar, like the button up shirt with the collar hanging out of the jacket. I don't know if you can make that work today or not, but I love that look. He really pulled that off well in this. So I think, I guess, highlights of this time period for me was just watching his influence and watching his relationship build with the crime family, or with the mob, with Paulie and all of the other guys that are involved in their families. And he develops a captivating relationship with his wife. I mean, they really don't seem like they're made for each other. And he's a risky guy that gets into trouble, and at first she's just a sweet lady that is kind of looking for companionship. And unfortunately, towards the end of the movie, it really goes off the rails with her and him, of course, but unfortunately he kind of takes her with him. So it was definitely hard to watch there. But I think with the well, yeah, so Luke, why don't you tell me, don't you think like his his influence and his like, I hate to use this because I like in my own natural life I really don't care, but there's something about his character and like the influence he has that just seems like I don't know, intriguing qualities. Do you think that like his influence, his wealth, and like his confidence, do you think that like aids his character to making him this like truly unique main character to follow as a protagonist?
I believe so. Yeah. becomes very successful in the business that way. Um, his loyalty, especially, he's like the right hand man of pretty much all of these guys. De Niro, Paulie here. Um, he's the one that's you know, what do you call it? Making it work. You know, revolutionizing it and everything. Yeah, I believe he's the next step of the business here. That's all I gotta say.
Mm.
I mean, because like that's what I picked up from it. He's the new guy. That's why I'm kind of confused. I know that De Niro is a bigger actor than him at the time, I'm sure, but that's why I was kind of. I wish he was in the front, you know, in the of the cover because
Yeah.
it grasps the attention of him rather than De Niro because De
That's a
Niro
good
was
point. Yeah, you have Ray Liotta right here to the left. Yeah, De Niro in the center. This is not a De Niro film by any means. He is a C
yeah
level character in this. I mean, Joe Pesci's a bigger character than De Niro in here. Joe Pesci says way more than him, and
yeah.
that's something I was going to mention later. But De
It's just a
Niro is
money
really
thing.
not present in the story at all until around the second half of the film, and then he is heavily involved. But the first half, he's not really much in the picture there, and I was kind of okay with that because Ray Liotta. This gave that actor a time to shine, and I kind of wish, like, I I want to talk about this later too, but I would love to see more characters like this, like just really cool new interesting male characters like with this sort of confidence portrayed in like a new film. I don't know what it would be, but I like I like a lot of their qualities, their personality traits. Of course, not all of them, but Ray Liotta, yeah, I mean, he's just like, as an actor, it's just a standout character that you can't even, like, put your finger on. He's just so interesting and unique, especially against these guys, and you know what? You just don't see him very much in anything else, and especially not, like, big pictures like this. I feel like this was, like, the big one, and then from then on, I don't know if anybody in the chat has another option, but I'm really not too familiar with him in any other bigger titles. So, I mean, Goodfellas is his movie, so it is odd that they didn't really advertise him like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just a money thing, you know. Like if you see like Leonardo DiCaprio in the front of a cover when he's barely in it, you know, people are obviously going to be like, "Hey, I want to see that." Me personally,
Mhm.
I would want to see it because I love Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it's
Oh
just
gosh, I'm glad he's not in this.
Scorsese does love him though.
Mhm.
Say that.
That is true.
I'm gonna bring up one point really quick before I lose my train of thought. But one thing I really love about Scorsese films, you know, I'm not sure if he does it in all of them, but as I said, I'm a big Leonardo DiCaprio fan. I love like the narration, you know, tactic that he uses. Like, you know, in the Wolf of Wall Street, it had Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort, like narrating throughout the movie as like the main character,
Mhm.
and it had Ray Liotta's character
Yeah, his
narrating
narration's
throughout.
awesome in
Yeah,
this.
so I really like picked up on that. I'm like, oh yeah, they did that in Wolf of Wall Street as well, and it makes it
Mhm.
funnier. Like he comments on like when they're doing something like absurd or whatever, he
Uh-huh.
comments on that and he like foreshadows it. So I appreciate that. What Scorsese does with that really you know, changes the game a little bit.
You make a good point. I mean, the narration, like that's one of my favorite parts of Apocalypse Now, which is not anything like this film. With Martin Sheen, I think he gives the best narration I've ever seen in any film, hands down. But yeah, I remember right when I was like right off the bat, we hear a narrated voice of an older Ray Liotta talking, describing his younger self right from the beginning, and I was just like, wow, I forgot he did that in this, but man, it works. It's cool. You're right. It's awesome in this. I don't know. I think it just kind of, for whatever reason, I think it gives it some more meat. And it makes everything seem more official and substantial, that there's a narration. There's somebody talking about
Hmm.
the elements of what's going on in the story. And I guess, at least part of this film are based off real life events. And there was a real Henry Hill character in the world. So I could believe that. It would be hard to believe that more towards the end of the story because everything just takes a turn for the absolute worst, and nothing really goes anyone's way. But before we move on, let's just talk to the chat a little bit. Thank you all for joining us here today. We're very excited to talk about this movie. So, Gutter Boy says he needs it now. I'm waiting. I know. Sorry, man. We were a little late. There you are. How's it going, guys? Hey, we're doing good. We're doing good, Proctophile. Thanks for joining us, man.
Oh wow, Gord King.
It's always good to see you, Proctophile. Oh, wait.
It's
Hello, Cass.
the last thing he said really quick. For Liotta, like I know we were just talking about how
What, this?
he, yeah. No, the Vice City one, the Grand Theft Auto. Are you
No.
saying that he narrated in that?
Liotta wasn't the lead star of anything prominent after Goodfellas until Grand Theft Auto Vice City, where he voiced the lead character. Oh, that's
Wow,
cool.
I did not know
That's
that.
sad. Okay, I do understand the appeal, like you said here, Gord King. How he wasn't going to, Liotta was never going to get top billing over De Niro. He had only one decent supporting performance under his belt before Goodfellas. Oh yeah, Field of Dreams. Good point. I
That's kind
get
of
that,
sad.
but I mean, come on, this is Ray Liotta's movie. Just put him in the center. I get it, publicity grab, right? I don't know. That's a stupid phrase. Maybe I said that wrong.
I said it right.
Okay, all right. Hey, Cass, though, thanks for joining us. Wilkie's Movies and Music. Guys, you
Hey,
got to check
Wilkie.
him out. I love this guy. He's awesome. I had a stream with him a while ago. And you know what's funny? I don't watch very many people just casually like live streams, but I've jumped on his stream and I just have fun listening. It's calming, it's nice. They love physical media, so be sure to check him out. Thanks for joining me, man. Yeah, I know, we're here. Oh, let's see. Gutter Boy OG. He did join us tonight in watching Goodfellas. He likes this movie as well. This is one of the boys at the movie nights. Good watch tonight, guys. I hadn't seen this one in a few years. Yeah, this is one of those movies that you got to you have to just, reinvigorate into your life because it's big, it's substantial. Let's see here. Trying to scroll through. Let's see. Okay, Proctophile. Joe Pesci's the man. Love that guy in every role. Yeah, he's always pretty good. I loved him in
It's
My
funny.
Cousin Vinny. Have you seen that?
Yes, I was about
Uh-huh.
to bring that up. He's
He's
hilarious
good
in
at
that.
that. Somehow he pulls Marissa Tomei in that, which doesn't make any sense. Um, that's a good one though. I'd be down to watch that one of these days.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Gord King. The story depicted in this film is fascinating to research. Michael Franzese, a reformed gangster who is briefly depicted early on, is a decent source. Oh, okay. Ray Liotta deserved an Oscar nomination for this film. Yeah, he did. My gosh, he stole the show, man. He stole the show. Generally, you can get away with clips so long as they don't surpass about 5 seconds. Isn't that boring? Five
That is,
seconds. What can I do with five
yeah,
seconds? I can't do
that's not worth
anything.
it.
Uh, you get a 4.5 second snippet of him laughing obnoxiously. Pretty sure there's a 6 second time limit for clips.
Ooh, an
You
extra
got
second.
to actually comment on it as you go. Okay, well, I mean, that's not hard to
That's
do.
all strict.
Yeah, I know. That's just the way it is, I guess. And I guess like weird enough, like some like studios, like movie studios are more like anal about it than others. Like I heard Disney's even worse, so you can't you I think it has to be even less than that number. It's
Wow,
ridiculous.
that's dumb.
Yeah, let's see here. By the way, if a lady sees what I said and thinks that's not me, and it truly isn't, consider yourself atypical, which is good. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, Gord King, but thanks. I don't understand the context all the time, but thanks everybody for talking with us in the chat. Luke, before we move on to the next time period in this, because it's about to heat up like crazy in the
Mhm.
world of Goodfellas, what did you think of the relationship and the chemistry that Ray Liotta's character had with Karen in that story? Did you think that story was interesting? Do you think do you think it messed up like the momentum that this film was going in? Because I don't know. I think there was like a
Yeah,
lot of energy that kind of went away from the main purpose.
I was pretty much just, in my eyes, it was just toxic. It was very toxic. He was, very unfaithful,
Mm.
and right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously.
Okay. Yeah. He was very
Duh.
very unfaithful. Uh, he kind of just made a joke out of her. I mean, it was funny. It's not funny, like to do that. It's not a good thing. Very bad thing to do. but it was pretty funny, like the way he did it. Like he would just like go with the boys right after, like he
Oh
just like
yeah.
go off on her, just slam the door, just like
Oh
this
gosh.
lady, and then just like take off. It's like, dude, that's your wife.
I know.
And then
Yeah,
when
he just
and then
bros.
her mom was evil. She was just going off on him when he showed up like late. She's like, that's not what husbands do. He's like, yeah, and he just turns around and hops in the car and leaves.
Uh-huh.
Like, wow, that's pretty bold. So yeah, this is pretty toxic. Wasn't stable.
Did you think it was interesting to watch it though? Because I mean,
Yeah,
they
oh yeah,
it was an
yeah,
emotional roller coaster between those
yeah,
2.
yeah. I mean, for her, really, not for really for him. He didn't really care much. For her, I feel bad for her, but it was interesting to watch. I'd say at least.
It was sad, like, that's something I feel like is so commonplace with Scorsese films, is he always has unfaithful marriages in there. I don't know
Yeah.
why. Like, come on, Scorsese, what's up with that? Like, right off the bat, like, you're immediately hooked on his character, Ray Liotta's Henry. He's charming, he's confident, he's smart and he's witty. These are, great qualities, and um he knows he has purpose and drive. All these are great qualities, and he's just cool. He is like inexplicably cool here. Like I said earlier, he brings a sort of swagger that we just don't really see at all anymore, and that it's a swagger that stands out. Kind of like a really weird similarity I have is how Joker has a swagger in like the gosh, I don't remember the director. Is it Todd Phillips who directs the Joker movies? Well, I don't know if you watched those or not, but with Joaquin Phoenix, I
Oh, of
thought when he
course I have.
was when he put the makeup on, he had that kind of swagger, and it was kind of similar. And I know those are so different, but that's like the only other like modern example I could think of that sort of mimics the confidence that he has in this,
Oh,
which
it's great.
yeah.
Yeah, I see how that reads, but Gore King made a good point. I think what Scorsese tries to do with like the marriages is tries to show the audience how um drugs and
Mm,
crime and abuse affects their lives. You know, that's what Gore King said, which is really
that's
good
true.
because that's what happens in Wolf of Wall Street. That's one of the only other Scorsese movies I've seen. That's why I keep on bringing it up. But obviously, there's drugs and that really affects the character and makes him abusive and unfaithful because they have all that money and yeah. So good job,
Oh,
Gorky. That's a really
yeah,
good
that's
point.
that's a good point. Yeah, we'll get to that later because obviously want to touch on the drugs part because that's pretty serious. I sadly don't have too many pictures of Joe Pesci. That's why I keep pulling this one up. Very prominent here. This is not a happy scene later on, but
Ooh,
we also need to talk about Joe Pesci's character here because in the '60s, he definitely devolves into like just being like pure evil. We have him laughing at the very beginning, busting balls, and now he is seriously going off the rails. He is taking disrespect to a level that should never be taken by anybody. And
mm-mm,
Luke, as you were saying earlier, you know what? If people like put any kind of and make him small in any way, he'll give them a little bit of a chance to make up for it. But if they push it any so more, they're going to
shoot him
get beat senselessly or they're going to die
or
from
shot.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to make a statement out of them. And there's quite a few scenes where this happens in this. So there's a scene where, which I think I saw you because I looked at your reaction
Oh man,
afterwards. You know what
that
I'm
was
talking about?
crazy.
The
That
bar or
that bl-
the one with the card game?
that blew my mind. Like that was horrible.
Do you wanna tell the audience what it
Okay,
is?
so there was this wimpy. I hate to call him wimpy, but he was giving that wimpy vibe. There's this wimpy bartender guy. You know,
He's young. He's like
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah,
age.
young guy. They were
Maybe
all
young. He's
sitting.
probably like 19.
Yeah,
He's probably
yeah,
younger.
maybe these guys were all sitting at a table playing cards, and Joe Pesci's character was kind of
Mhm.
like you know being very disrespectful to him, saying, "Yeah, get my what was he calling him over and over? He was calling him some kind of name, but he was like, give me a drink,
Mhm.
whatever," just like bossing
Well,
around.
the kid's name was Spider for some reason. Maybe that was his nickname or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, Spider, yeah. He was like, "Give me that drink, Spider," and then he's like just like trying to like push him like to make him go faster. He starts
Uh-huh.
shooting the ground, accidentally shoots the guy in the foot, and he's like, and then he gets back up, and he's like, "Get up, hop to me now, hop to me." And then what does he say to him? He finally has enough, and he says, "Can I say that? Can I say a bad word?"
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
he basically says like, "Yeah, you can go fuck yourself." And then they're all laughing. Robert De Niro's character's all laughing at him. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna take that from him? You're gonna take it?" It's like, "Oh,
Oh
we
yeah.
we all think it's a joke." Like Joe Pesci's character is just looking at him like you're. It's funny. We're all laughing. Like it's a
Hmm.
joke. He was like, "All right, you got me." And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 just like shoots him dead. I'm like, "Whoa!" And then even Robert De Niro's character is like going off on him, saying, "What did you do? You idiot! That's horrible. Like
Uh-huh.
you need to control yourself. You were digging the hole." Like that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't see that coming at all, did
I
you? I mean,
wish we could just show the clip, but
I know he killed him just out of nowhere, and that's like I think that's something that's like also equally special about Goodfellas as well. Is there's the shocking scenes in this. You just can't anticipate what's going to happen. You really can't. And I looked at you as an example because I kept looking over at you when these things would happen because I knew they were happening because I've seen it before. And you looked like you were just completely enamored and bewildered by what just happened, especially that scene because like
oh, it's
you think
crazy.
maybe he learned his lesson after last time, but man, he just boom, 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 just out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah, it was literally out of nowhere. I mean, I never would have expected that. I mean, it was all fun and games until he went the extra mile and just killed the guy. You know,
Hmm. I think
it's
I want to mention this before we move on to the next time period. Something I also really enjoyed about Ray Liotta's character was during this time period was right after I believe it was right after he got married to his wife Karen. They she he identified this possibly concerning neighbor of hers. I don't know what his name was. He was just some douchey guy that like lived across the street. And I
oh
guess I believe it was after they were married.
yeah.
That guy was messing with her and like flirting with her and touching her and stuff. And when Ray Liotta heard about this, because she was all upset by it, reasonably so, he drives on down there furious. He grabs his revolver, puts it in his pants, walks on over up to him, and then just starts beating the piss out of him with the butt of his revolver. And it's insane.
Ah,
That was another one of those shocking scenes. Like you're sitting there like,
he did it a number of
what?
times too.
Did that
I
just happen?
I thought it was his palm for a
No,
second, and then
no.
and then I saw the gun. I'm like, whoa, I don't know how that got survived. You know,
Yeah, how do you survive that? I mean, that would oh gosh, I can't even imagine how painful that would be. But that was like
oh,
one
it
of
was
those
before they
scenes
were
where it's
married.
like, geez, man, this guy's
Yeah,
got balls.
and
Ray
Gorky said it was
Liotta.
before they were married.
Oh, it was before they were married. It must have been
Yeah,
like right before, maybe when they were or not dancing, dating. Um, well, I think you know what? I think it's time we move on to the 70s, don't you think, Luke?
yeah,
This is
let's
a
do it.
big time. Everything's about to change. It's
Yep.
not going to be completely crazy, but let's just say this train starts to go off the rails a little bit. Um, oh wait, actually, let me think for a second. Prison. I need to think of the time that they go to prison because the prison is an especially interesting time. So let me look
One
that
of
up.
them went
Let me
for
look that
10
up real quick
years.
because I forgot. I'm talking about the first time they're in prison. You remember that, Luke?
Oh, yeah.
When did
Yeah.
let's consider this as part of the 60s. Sorry, everybody, I don't have that number with me exactly, but this is another exciting entry into this story. Is Paulie, Ray Liotta, and De Niro, and there's like a few other mobsters. They all have to go to prison, and they get some special treatment while they're in there. And it's like they're living sort of the high life, even behind bars. They have this one room all to themselves. They all live in there, and they are being. Oh no, this is part of the next section. So we'll just call this is part of the 70s. I remember now. I think this is like the very beginning of the 70s. So these guys go to prison. They got cut, busted for something. I think it had to do with something with one of their like one of
Yeah, their
their
wife was the FBI who they were trying to
that's what
beat
it
up.
was.
Yeah, he was trying to feed them to the lions in the zoo, and then his
Good,
wife.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, good. I was about to say something else, so I'm glad you corrected me on that. Yeah. So yeah, they were dealing with it was De Niro and Ray Liotta. They were about to throw this poor guy into a lion's den because he owed them money, and then they decided to spare him because he coughed it up. And then that guy's wife or sister, I think it was his sister.
Yeah, something like
She
that. Yeah.
had she had connections with the FBI, or she was working for the FBI, and they
Yeah.
busted these guys, and they had to go to prison, and they had a pretty good time in prison. These guys were rocking in prison, and I thought like not much happens during this time period, but it was like it was enjoyable to see. These guys they were fine dined. They were shipped all kinds of like maybe not shipped, but they were somebody, well, I guess Karen, Ray Liotta's wife, smuggled in all kinds of amazing foods, lobster,
Steak.
steaks, and Paulie was involved. We have not mentioned Paulie enough. Paulie, who is like he's the capo, he's sort of the crime boss here, or the mob boss. He's also just a very interesting character in this, and he's soft spoken, even tempered. Yeah, we have not talked about him enough. Oh yeah, right here. And you know what? He's making himself useful. He's cutting garlic cloves with a little razor. And I don't know, not much happens here. This is sort of an entry into a ongoing concern that is beginning to develop with Ray Liotta. Do you remember what that is, Luke? Do you remember what he starts to do right when he gets into prison?
Coke.
That's right. He starts to get into drugs. I don't think it's coke immediately. First it's pills, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right.
he's starting to enjoy the pills, unfortunately. He's starting to, engage with a different side of himself, and he this is where,
It's
it
bad.
seems like not harmless. I mean, it's obviously not harmless here, but it's not that serious right off the bat. This, not very long from now, develops into something pretty terrible as he turns into pretty much a zombie
Hmm.
towards the end of the movie. He
His
turns into an
hair.
absolute zombie. And like for me, seeing this character that, for a lot of his like maybe traits, or his like for his confidence and his influence and his tenacity, I admired. And seeing him like betray himself by diving into this terrible addiction, it was really hard for me to watch. How did you feel about it? Did
Oh,
that
I
kind of
mean,
tarnish your thoughts, or like
yeah.
what did
You
you
have
think?
this well put together guy and this professional guy, and then he's quite opposite. He's the opposite now. He's all falling apart. His hair is all crazy. Pale in the face. It's pretty bad. It's it turns, yeah, he looks homeless basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a homeless guy who lives on the street, and all homeless. But anyway, I'm talking about druggy. That's what I meant.
Uh-huh.
He's very
Yeah.
under the bridge. That's what I meant to say.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it's sad that he goes through this transformation, and he just loses himself. He is no longer that slick, cool guy. And this drug addiction, it grows into something even worse. He starts going behind Paulie's back, and he gets into the drug game. He starts to have, is it cocaine? I believe it is cocaine.
Yeah, it's cocaine.
Yeah, it's all being shipped to him. It's being brought to him, and he's distributing it. He was distributing it in the prison, and then once he gets out of prison, he starts doing that just on the streets behind Paulie's back. Paulie doesn't want anything to do with drugs. He's perfectly fine with stealing and theft. He doesn't want anything to do with drugs. And this will definitely turn out to be a huge issue for Paulie later on. And I was just disappointed to see how this turned out. And this is also another addition to the prison story that I think is important to note, that kind of went over my head, was that um while he was in prison, his family, his wife and his two daughters, which are barely talked about in this movie, they were left with no income. Pretty much the entire crime family just froze. They're no longer, mooching up with each other. They're not just passing bills left and right. The big dogs are in prison. They aren't making any money and business is halted. So everyone back home is getting poor, including his family, and he has no more money. It was confiscated. A lot of the a lot of their assets begin to get confiscated, and there's just no money being made back home. So getting into the drug game and like working behind Polly's back, he justified that as, just making ends meet and paying the bills. And, by the time he gets back, business is business is back as usual, yet he continues to just grow and grow in this in the drug game, and he ends up pulling Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci in as well, which really starts to take this new like miniature drug empire out of control, and that ends up leading to something that none of them would have really expected. uh I don't know. I felt like if I was in Paulie's shoes, I would feel real sad to learn this, because Ray Liotta, although he was under De Niro's wing for a lot of the time, he was also under Paulie's ring. Paulie is like the dad of this group. He's the dad. Everybody listens to him. And without his coordination, it would all fall apart. And Ray Liotta thinks he could be like that, and he thinks he can handle it, but he really can't. And, throughout the movie, you kind of wonder that yourself. You wonder if he is, if he's poised to possibly like take Paulie's place at one point, but he just really can't. It's really disappointing. Um, During this time period, we also um, we see another memorable scene with Ray Liotta's wife Karen, where she tries to kill him. You remember that scene, Luke? What did you think of that? I thought
That's
that
a
was like
that
that
was that
sticks with you.
that's a true definition of how the tables have turned. That whole scene is hilarious. She's so confident that she's like, on top of him with the gun pointed right towards his head, and he talks her down so gently. And then right when he talks her down,
Oh,
a second, not even a second later, the the roles are reversed, and
that was awful.
he truly pulls the abusive card again. Granted, she did have a gun to his face, but he was not playing around once he was on the other, and when he had the smart end of the gun.
Yeah, it was a sad interchange.
That
And
was.
something I forgot during my first watch through of seeing this was how Karen, both of them, well, he obviously gets addicted to coke and like drugs, but she also gets pulled into that as well. She becomes sort of a zombified version of herself towards this during the 70s time period. And it was sad to see. It was like, right off the bat, she was just some nice, sweet lady. Wasn't like a troublemaker or anything, easygoing. And by the end of it, she's really involved with crime. She knows what's happening. She knows that they're whacking people and that this is a really dirty business they're getting into. She doesn't seem to care that much. She cares more for when he's being, I guess, when he engages in infidelity, reasonably so, that she's concerned about that. But she doesn't seem too concerned about all the other terrible things he's done on the side. I mean, did you notice that at all? I don't think she ever really mentioned like the
I
dirty
mean,
dealings.
when you do so many horrific, things, kind of, becomes the norm.
Uh-huh. I'm
That's, I mean, that's at least what I think she's going through.
I'm glad you
She.
mentioned that, because that's also like that's a theme that is that's a theme that's kind of carried out throughout the movie as well, is uh, evil becomes the norm for these guys, like Joe Pesci, even right off the bat, he starts off just by, like like saying disrespectful stuff to somebody, and then he injures somebody, and then after that he just starts killing everybody that starts disrespecting him, and it really goes off the rails. And same for Ray Liotta. He, at first he's like phased and he tries to help people that get hurt. When he's young, a poor guy gets shot outside, and he goes out there and he tries his best to help him out, and he's looked down upon for it. Even when he's older, he is more, I don't know, he takes to heart when people get hurt or when somebody dies. He feels for it. But during this time period, in the 70s, he's like, okay, it happens, it's all good. Jimmy, or I think that's his name, Jimmy, De Niro's character, he is kind of
Yeah.
heartless, like for other people the whole time. He doesn't really, it doesn't seem like he has any mercy for anyone. So he's sort of the static member, which is like, I guess it's kind of interesting how he's just always been that way. I mean, right off the bat, he is perfectly fine with whacking somebody, but I think that's something that's just genius about this movie is just seeing these characters evolve and I guess become more primal over time, because that's what happens. You make a mistake or you do something stupid, and the next time you do it, it's not as bad, and it's like that's just kind of how humans work, and they play that off to they play that off to an extreme in here. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Something else that we definitely need to talk about at this point, which I have pulled up the picture for many times to reference Joe Pesci, is an unfortunate end. This scene right here, the boys, they're all very excited for Joe Pesci before this happens. He is getting made. So getting made is he's going to become a more prominent figure in the mob.
Hmm.
He's going to be, a leader of his own.
As he
And
should.
his influence would stretch to Ray Liotta and De Niro. So they all would have a piece of this to some extent. And so, like, an interesting part of the history of this is you have to be 100% Italian to be made. So, for whatever reason, I don't exactly know why he would. I guess it's because he's 100% Italian. That's like part of the reason why he would, be thrown into this position. Otherwise, I don't know what he exactly did in particular to like deserve a rank up, but he is super excited that he's being made. Finally, you know what I mean? I get a chance to be a big shot. And he goes, he meets with these guys. He's taken in here, and he notices immediately right off the bat, oh, these are ceramic floor tiles on the ground. This is an easy place for them to wash up my blood. And he gets whacked right off the bat. Shocking. Luke, I know you were surprised when that happened. You did not see
Very.
that coming either, did you?
Yeah, that was another one of the like mind blowing moments that you turned around and witnessed my reaction. That was crazy to see because you didn't expect a main character like that to just be whacked in
hmm
a matter of like a second. I mean, they
Yeah.
like what I love about these these whacks is that they all happen so quick and just so like out of nowhere. Like they don't give you time to like prepare for it, and I like that because like that creates way more of a reaction and like you know
I like the way you put that. I think that's part of the shock, right? The shock
yeah,
value.
yeah,
Like,
shocking.
oh
It
crap,
creates a
you
shock
you don't have
value.
time to think about it. It just happens.
Yeah, it like it creates tension and so I love that.
I feel like
Yeah.
of all of Scorsese's films, this movie is the most shocking. I just don't know how any of the other ones can compare. Casino was nothing like that. Silence wasn't really anything like that. This really stands out. I mean, none of his other movies are really they have not reached the level of this. I definitely think he had it coming. And what they describe what they justify why this happened because as Luke mentioned earlier in the stream, he got whacked because they found out that he was responsible for whacking another made man early on. One of the guys that was making fun of him and like disrespecting him, he whacked and he tried burying out in the middle of nowhere. Somehow they figured out it was him that did it, and they got revenge on him. And this is what happened. So you know what? It went all the way around, and it led him to reach this moment. And of course, you know what? At this point, the other guys they were pretty disappointed. They're like, oh man, we had a chance. You know what I mean? This was our chance to level up within this I don't know, industry. I don't know what you would call it, this predicament. But this was for me, I didn't really care. I like Joe Pesci. He is really, I mean, this is his most evil character he's ever played. If anyone knows a more evil character Joe Pesci has played, let me know, because he is a bad guy in this. There's not a good bone in his body. I mean, he has respect for his friends. He has respect for Ray Liotta, but that's about it. It doesn't go much farther than that. So That's really one of the bigger highlights of this 70s time period. And yeah, I think at that point, do you have anything else you want to mention before we move on to
Um,
the final chapter of this
I
story?
I'd like to comment two things. Gore King just said that Joe Pesci's character in Casino is more evil.
See, I don't
I
remember
I haven't
that.
seen Casino, so I have no clue. But I'm just gonna see what you think.
I need to rewatch Casino because I remember him being evil, but I don't remember him being more evil than this. I do remember what happened to him in the cornfield, which was definitely interesting.
Ooh, tigers.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
There
He's
you
still here. That's a
go.
surprise.
And then also another thing, right before I forget if it happened like right before this scene, where Joe Pesci's character was whacked. Um, does De Niro become the higher level, or like is
So
he
yeah,
still the higher
I looked
level?
this up. Yeah, so I looked this up and I was curious because it seems like there's like a hierarchy to this mob business and the mobsters, but it said that because I was curious about Ray Liotta's character if he like leveled up like officially as he like remained in this group because you think he would. I mean, he's been in it ever since he was a kid. And no, he never did. He never got an official ranking title
Wow,
upgrade. So
that's
I imagine
upsetting.
De Niro didn't either. So I think they're all just kind of base level. And isn't that odd? It was interesting.
Wow,
Interesting to learn that.
I think that's why he was so upset in the payphone. He when he learned about Joe Pesci's death.
Hmm.
I think that's when why was he so upset? I mean, not only his friend and his business partner, was
Oh, it
whacked.
screws everything up, you
Yeah,
know?
that's that. So yeah, he can't become a higher guy without Joe Pesci, right? And
Yeah, I mean, so the second half of this of the film, it features, like I said earlier, De Niro in a much more prominent role, and it's really the story really focuses on De Niro and Ray Liotta and their partnership getting involved with the drugs and this I don't know, with other antics outside of Paulie's control, and they're both just trying to hide it from him, and it's we get we see a desperate side of both of them that we didn't initially expect, especially after Joe Pesci gets whacked. Oh my gosh! Now that I'm thinking about it, we missed a huge portion of this. We
what?
forgot to talk about the heist.
Oh, that's
Remember?
right.
For the
Yeah,
millions of dollars? How did I
yeah,
forget that?
yeah. That
Maybe
was
that
that was smooth.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm glad we mentioned that. So I'm glad I said that. So the heist, we don't actually see it happen. I don't believe, do we?
Six
This
million dollars.
was it 6 million or 60?
6 million, I
6
believe.
million? Yeah, it was like a couple $1,000,000. And they this is something that's like kind of happening in the background. And oh, this also brings up another portion I definitely want to talk about as well. I'm glad we brought that back to light. Um this heist, this came into reality because of a very odd friend of the group named Morty. Morty is this ugly, weird, uh, what is it? What are those called? The wig salesman, and he's kind of slimy. He's always busting balls, but nobody really likes him that much. And he made aware to Jimmy, Robert De Niro's character, he made him aware of a big score not far away, and he wanted a piece of the pie. He wanted to get some of that. They believed him. They created this heist. We don't really know much about the heist. We really hear about the plans and how this went down over the radio or over the news. And we know that they got a lot of money and that it was a success. And we know that Robert De Niro led it, but it all happened in the background. After this, a lot started to change with De Niro's character. Sure, he's got lots of money, but he becomes really nervous, very nervous and worryful. He's always looking behind his back now. And all of this just gets worse and worse because of Morty. Morty's character, he just he he bumps into he rubs the wrong way with De Niro time and time again at just the worst times possible. De Niro really doesn't want much to do with him, but I don't blame Morty. He wants that money. He wants that money. He wants to take it home. And De Niro, for whatever reason, isn't paying him. He's pretty annoyed, and they end up whacking Morty, which is like I thought was, I don't know, that kind of stuck out to me as like the most interesting whacking in the movie for sure. I wish I had a picture here. The way the stream works is I can only have so many pictures available. I have too many, or else I'd show him on here. But that was definitely a fun element. But the main purpose of bringing this up is that De Niro, his character, although he seemed to be supremely wise, supremely confident, and it seemed like he really knew everything that was going on, that our faith in him for having these features, it's put to the test, and it's unwinded, and he loses that. And towards the later end of the 70s here, he starts to kind of scheme against everybody that was involved in that heist. And Luke, do you want to tell everybody what he does to the leftover members of the heist?
Yeah, it's how much am I allowed to say?
Say it, whatever. I think everybody's seen this.
Yeah, he whacks him, right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah,
Everyone. Everyone except Ray Liotta.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
All of his friends, all those guys he's grown up with, all the men that he served with for years and years and years, all part of the Pauly family, all whacked. There was probably, I don't know, 5 to 8 of them, all gone, taken out of the picture. Wow. I mean,
and characters we didn't really expect. I mean, they were had a lot of screen time, and I thought it was really interesting. This is I don't know, it's kind of irrelevant, but like the same style, Breaking Bad. Okay, there was a scene when they killed all 10 of these witnesses from prison.
Oh yeah,
and they used the same song that like the old classical song that they used in this movie.
They did.
Well, yeah, after like like the classical song that they were using after while they were showing all like the guys their bodies and everything.
Oh, I didn't know it was the same song.
Yeah, they did that same thing in Breaking Bad. I thought it was pretty cool as I was watching that.
Here, I have a picture. This is an awesome picture. I love this. So this is De Niro with Morty. Oh my gosh. That was awful. That's Morty there. He's the one with the big mouth that will not stop talking, will not stop messing with De Niro. So this is before he got whacked. This is early on in the movie, but this might be my favorite picture from Goodfellas. I love this so much. It's so funny. But it was sad. It was sad to see his character kind of unwind as well. Everything, like you said, or like Gord King mentioned, how drugs and the crime and just resorting to these like truly evil measures in life really just ruins people. It ruined all of these characters. And that brings us really to the next portion of the story, which is the 80s. And there's not much to tell in this portion because one big thing happens and everything crumbles all together. And like from the very beginning of the movie, I never would have imagined that this would be the outcome. What does Ray Liotta's character do to get out of this mess? Because he's now under extreme scrutiny. The cops are after him. They finally catch him. Remember that, Luke? They catch Ray Liotta. They catch him with a lot of drugs, and they also catch his wife. And they are put in a box. They don't know what to do. They don't have very much money, and they don't have anyone they can necessarily rely on at this point. They're put in a corner. So what do they have to do to get out of trouble?
Kind of blank on that one.
You're blanking. It's huge.
I know. That was
here's a hint.
It was a lot of thinking after this like part.
Here's a hint.
I remember this scene.
They snitched.
Oh yeah.
He snitched. He snitched, and he didn't just snitch on De Niro.
Kind of though.
He didn't snitch just on De Niro. He snitched on Pauly. He snitched on the entire gang. Everyone he grew up loving, sharing memories with, going to parties with, literally living with. He ratted everyone out, which made this character really the biggest rat in film altogether. I don't think there's a bigger rat than him. He uprooted the entire system that was left to get out of trouble. And I guess I understand that. Like, I understand why he did it, because he wanted to leave this life. I mean, his life was at risk anyway. De Niro was sort of uh, showing hints that he was going to whack Ray Liotta, and he was worried about that. At that point, he's like, okay, I have no other choice. I'm going to get involved with witness protection, and
Oh
I'm
yeah, that's
going
right. Yeah.
to, yep, and I'm going to
Okay.
spill the beans, and I'm going to start a new life in some little suburb far, far away.
I
So,
wish. I wish.
how did you feel about all of this, Luke? Because this was a shocking
Like I
conclusion of
said,
the
it
story.
was. I mean, after seeing him on like all the drugs and everything, I knew he was gonna like break at some point and do something stupid. But the reason I'm so blank is because when I see a movie for the first time, it was so much to take in, like
There's
to
a
all.
lot to take.
And so I would love to watch this movie again, like because I know I'd understand it a lot more. Like I like to like process everything the first time I see something,
Hmm.
but there was so much to take in on this movie. So yeah, I'm starting to remember as you tell me. But yeah, I mean, no, he did the right thing. Very much of a character change though. You know, goes from a loyal man, well put together, to a kind of a, I want to say coward, but you know, just a basic snitch.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, you were describing him with that quality of loyalty, and loyalty was true for like,
yeah,
65 to 70% of the film, and then the very end,
yeah,
an absolute abandonment of loyalty.
drugs kind of threw him off the tracks big time. Threw him off of what his ambition and mission was.
Hmm.
But he kind of lost it after all that, and lost all of his concept of morality, and you know, it's like screw these
Hmm.
guys, screw these guys. They don't really
Yeah,
care about me anymore.
I don't know what his like, because he has two daughters. I don't know what their life was like growing up with this, because the mom got messed up from this too. I mean, both of them were were bad news, and it said
Hmm.
later on that they split up, which is sad, but you know, it's it's just a sad situation. And this whole the whole series of pulling these guys out and blaming them for all of this is so painful to watch. He's staring down his family and renouncing them in front of the world. It's really painful, and that's pretty much the end of the film. That the 80s, we pretty much just go through this time where he's it's an extended time for him to reflect on what he should do, figure out what's the best course of action, and this is the choice they make. And you know I'm curious to know if, I guess, he must have like come clean and told people this story now, right? Because it's a true story. And I've seen images of like the real life Henry Hill. I think he goes by a different name. And I'm like, okay, so he's not worried about getting in trouble anymore, I guess. I mean, he must be super old now, because this was in the 90s, and I don't know. Oh, well,
But
this movie came out in the 90s and it's referencing like the 50s. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot to take in, like you said, Luke. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I thought maybe
no,
you'd know that for
no,
sure.
you after you told me about the scene a little bit, I remembered everything. It's just there was, at that time I was just kind of like getting angsty and everything, just like wondering like what the actual conclusion is going to be.
Hmm.
It's a lot.
Here,
Uh,
Gord King mentioned something. Yeah. Henry Hill passed away in 2012. Yeah, so that's the real
yeah,
one.
2012. Yeah,
And you, Luke, you mentioned
69 years
earlier to
old.
me, didn't you say that all the actors, like the actors
Yeah,
in this film, died around the
yeah.
same time?
Let me pull that up really quick. So I was looking at the cast and everything, and we all know that Ray Liotta, he did pass away in 2022,
That sucks.
and then I looked at the guy who plays Paul. He passed away in 2022 as well.
Oh, Paulie died 2022.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's her face? And then the guy who plays Billy Bats.
Oh,
I'm not sure if you remember. He died in
oh,
2017.
that's the okay. Billy Bats is the dude that they stuffed to the trunk.
Yeah, he died in 2017 as well. Did what's his name? I'll find it. But someone else died in 2017 as well.
Hmm.
Um, And so yeah, it was. And then another guy died in 2023. So I don't
Yeah,
know. It's just I feel like a lot of the cast, like some of the
that's
like the
sad.
main support. I know it's like I wish I heard about this movie. I mean, I've heard about. I wish I've seen this movie before to kind of honor these
Yeah,
characters a little bit
right.
more.
I know it sucks he's gone. Like I think I watched this movie for the first time after Ray Liotta passed away, and I was like, man, what a gem. He was
Yeah,
just so special in this.
yeah. I've seen him on like like in commercials and everything. I just never seen him in a movie. Which is sad.
Hmm.
Not a great
So
way to.
Luke, before we wrap up for today, can you think of any like modern examples of a cool, confident, interesting character like Henry Hill here, or really like any of these guys? Obviously, they're mostly villains, but they have admirable qualities that we've talked about. Can you really think of anyone that has that sort of swag or that sort of, I don't know?
He really reminded me of, and I think it's a really good comparison in my eyes. Who is the I feel so bad that I forgot his name. And the last movie we just watched, what was that called? Heat. No, it was Heat.
Oh yeah, Val
It was the guy,
Kilmer.
yeah, Val Kilmer. He reminds me of Val Kilmer, like
Oh,
almost like the same like character style. Like he's having trouble with his like relationship status. He's following all like the bad guys and everything, but he comes out on top in the very end. Like Val Kilmer, he escapes and doesn't get in trouble, and then Ray Liotta's character turns on them in the very end and comes out kind of on top, because he's not, he not in huge trouble, and
mhm.
so I feel like
That's not really modern though. That's still like the 90s or like early 2000s. Can you think of
oh, you're
anything in
right.
like the last like 10 years? It's a big question. And
Yeah, I don't.
for me,
I
nothing
would say
comes to
Brad Pitt, but Brad
mind.
Pitt doesn't really come out as a villain much.
No. Well, I just mean somebody that like just a cool dude, just like an actually cool character that I don't know, that you admire for their charming qualities.
Swag? Oh, Brad Pitt.
Okay, well, I'm talking about a character, like a character he's played. Can you think of any characters recently? I mean, I can't.
Oh,
Nothing
character that
comes
he's
to mind
played?
for me. Oh, well.
Sorry, Jackson. The character that Ray Liotta played?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just
Oh,
saying,
sorry.
okay.
I thought you were talking about a different actor. Okay.
No,
All
no. I'm
right.
talking about any modern movies.
I'm
Modern
sorry.
movies has
All right.
any modern film
All right.
lately
I'm
given
looking it
us
up right
cool
now.
characters like this.
I
I don't think I can't name a single one. I
no.
can't.
There's a Cocaine Bear. I don't remember him in that. He was in
I'm not
Cocaine
talking
Bear.
about the actor Ray Liotta. Never mind. Forget it. It's all right, Luke. And he was bad in Cocaine Bear. He was that was not and you know what? That wasn't his final movie. He was in another one where he was like a cop or like a dirty cop.
Oh, Tom Cruise in Collateral. That's what Gord King said.
That's an old one too, Gord King. That's not new.
Okay, Jackson. Sorry. One more time. Okay, I'm really gonna focus on what you're trying to say
Okay,
here. Say
okay.
that again.
What I was trying to ask
Okay.
was, okay, obviously Ray Liotta and all these guys, they're
Right.
cool, interesting characters. They're confident, they are well structured, they're interesting,
Right.
and there's admirable qualities that they have that we would like to have, right? Having that sort of confidence, having that sort of swagger, and just literally just being cool because they are cool characters. Can you think of any in modern day movies that are like that now?
Oh,
Like I
no.
mentioned Joker. That's the only film I could think of
Oh,
where we
okay.
see a character
Movies. Okay.
have that kind of swag.
Um, Joker. Yeah, Joker 1, not Joker 2. But
No, definitely not Joker
Gord
2.
King does have a point. You did say 2000s. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess that's fair. See, that's not
Um.
really I mean, we're 2025 now, man. I don't
Oh.
know. I think
Ty.
2010 plus.
Ty, you're right. Southpaw. I think you're talking about Southpaw. That's it.
Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Good call. That's a good call. Jake Gyllenhaal, um he's still pretty solid. That's a good call, Ty.
Yeah, I like me
Other
some
than
Jake
that, I
Gyllenhaal.
mean, he's always pretty solid.
Um. Anthony Mack. I'm just kidding. No.
Oh
No,
gosh.
I wasn't gonna go there. I was gonna go there.
Stop.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say Winter Soldier. Come on, dude.
Well, you know what? Michael B. Jordan in Creed. He's pretty cool. He's not as
Oh
cool
yeah,
as he's not as cool as Ray Liotta in this. He's not even close.
I'd
But
skip out
he's
on
pretty
Creed one.
cool.
Creed one kind of, he was kind of
Yeah. Oh, I
average.
love 3. Three's my favorite.
Second's my favorite, because it connects to Rocky Four. But
Yeah.
I would say definitely Rocky, but that's like way back in the
That's
day.
old, man. Duh. The 90s was just flourishing with great characters like that. Okay, here's a good one. Benicio del Toro in Sicario. Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one, Gord King. I like that. Um, yeah, I'd say even more so than John Wick, really. I mean, Benicio del Toro had, he didn't say very much, but I think he had more personality.
Leo DiCaprio in The
Oh,
Revenant.
okay, there you go. That's a good one. And then, gosh, I just had another one. What was it? Oh no, it just left me.
Sorry, I kind of blew that out of your head.
Oh crap, what was it? Hmm. Oh no. Okay, you said Benicio del Toro and Sicario. Then I thought of okay, yes, Bob Odenkirk in Nobody. He was genuinely cool.
I love Bob
That's a good
Odenkirk.
one. Yes, me too. He's awesome. He's one of my favorites. Yes. That's okay. Those are good. I'm kind of surprised we came up with some. I didn't think we were going to be able to mention any. But, the 90s, geez, the 90s were just fresh with these guys. And, Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, all those guys back then, I mean, they were just churning out high quality content. I wish we were still there where we could get a film like this every year.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be special? Like, imagine like going to the theater and just, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. And you watch Goodfellas and it's like, oh crap, did I just watch that at the theater right now? Like, it would be nice to have a modern Goodfellas, not a remake. I don't want to hear the same story, but just something with this sort of quality that you could just casually stumble into. That would be enlightening for me. But why don't we'll get to a few chats and then we are going to finish up for the night. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We had a really good time talking about this movie. This is a special film without a doubt.
Yeah, Practiphile said Jared Butler and
Oh, Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler in Cop Shop.
I haven't seen that one. I'm not a big fan of that actor very much. I don't know. He's like Olympus Has Fallen. I believe that's
Ooh,
him.
Austin Butler and Elvis.
Okay. Well, that's
He
not a terrible one.
it was like they really changed.
Okay, wait a second. I liked Austin Butler in Bike Riders. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I've not seen
Him and what's his face? Tom Hardy. They're both pretty good in that one.
Yeah.
That's probably the closest one to these dudes. Just kind of similar mannerisms, I guess, but they're still not as cool. That's not a bad choice though. Huh?
Matthew McConaughey and The Gentleman, Gore King says.
That one's kind of old, isn't it? I don't think he's talking about the series. Huh. Okay, I think we mentioned this, but I think we're going to talk about the chats here. So Gord King says, I think what Scorsese was showing with the wife was how this lifestyle tends to affect the women in their lives.
Yeah.
How a nice girl can be dragged down a path of drugs, crime, and abuse. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's sad. Gosh, I think, Scorsese, he shows, just like Tarantino, he kind of shows the dirty effects of getting involved in misguided lifestyles, right? Confidence goes a long way, man. Yeah, it definitely goes a long way for these guys too, because I mean, it doesn't seem like they have any skills necessarily other than their confidence. They have good like social skills, talking to people and like wheeling and dealing. But other than that, I mean, that seems to be the prime focus. So I think confidence is the base for a lot of those traits. The actor who played Spider played one of the most prominent characters on the show, The Sopranos. He played the son of Tony Soprano. Oh, wow, good for him. 2 prominent roles. That's cool. Poor Spider. That's the kid that was whacked by Joe Pesci, who got his foot shot. The guy messing with her was a friend of hers. It was well before they were married. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. The one that Ray Liotta beat the piss out of. Food prep in this movie is peak. It is peak. I love seeing Paulie like cut up the garlic like that. That was awesome. Coke in the 80s was massive. Understandable temptation, but crime families generally didn't want the heat and sloppiness that drugs brought. Oh yeah, and I mean that was Paulie's take, right? He did not want the heat from the drugs, which is interesting hearing like that side of it. I mean, they're all crime in the end of the day. Gord King says, even in The Godfather, the guys who turn on Don Corleone do so because he doesn't want them to get into drugs. That's something, we were scanning just films and we would like to go through Godfather again, but that requires a serious viewing, like extra patient. It might require 2 times over for that one because that one, geez, Godfather is just absolutely loaded, like even more than Goodfellas. There's a lot to process. So that might take two watch throughs to get through that one.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Oh yeah, then you gotta watch all 3 of them, right? Yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, then we're talking about Casino. So Casino is a full-blown monster. And you're talking about Joe Pesci at this point. He tortures a guy by putting his head in a vice and putting ice picks in his nethers. Ooh, I don't remember that. Jeez, I need to rewatch this. Ty likes that, his nethers. This scene really depicts the entirety of the film as we really see the cutthroat decisions the mob makes regardless of status or power. Exactly, man. Exactly. Everyone is on the chopping block regardless of what rank they have attained. That's true. Yeah, even Joe Pesci. He made a difference within this in this family either way, even if he was doing stupid stuff. Fun fact, gosh, I saw this written earlier and I have no idea how to say it. The Lufthansa heist remains largely unsolved. Only one person was arrested for it, and almost none of the money or jewels have been recovered. This was the heist that was like seen in the background with with De Niro. Like De Niro did that in the back. That's crazy. $5.8 million was stolen.
Crazy.
Jeez. Ah, Proctophile. I'll admit, I haven't seen Goodfellas yet. Just one of those classics I haven't gotten around to yet. Man,
You gotta
you
get
got
to
this
it.
is a must see. Goodfellas is a must see, Proctophile. Give it a chance. Even Ty says you gotta watch it. Procto, you gotta watch it fully. I believe it's a perfect movie, and I don't use that lightly. Man, hells yeah, that's what I like to hear, bruh. All right. While both the Goodfellas scene where the guys get whacked does use an old song, just as Breaking Bad does, they
Yeah.
use
Oh, I
different
might have.
songs.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but
Gord King's Gord King's correcting you, Luke.
no, I'll take it.
Gord King. I thought Gord King was like around our age, but he's not at all. It was funny to hear that. Gord King's in his, I think his 40s or something like that. Gord King's awesome. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Ty has something cool. Gutter Boy OG. In my eyes, a similar strong male figure in a movie was the boxing movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh yeah, we mentioned that. I'm glad you brought him up because Jake Gyllenhaal, he's underrated. And we need to watch Southpaw. I haven't seen that one yet.
It's good.
I've been looking forward to seeing that. Oh, here we go. Proctophile. This is a good choice too. Henry Cavill in Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Was he actually? Because you're laughing there. I haven't seen it. I thought it looked stupid, so I didn't waste my. I just
Right.
didn't. I just didn't see it. So I don't know if you're joking or not. Maybe he was cool. Henry Cavill. He's a cool actor. I don't think Tom Cruise has the swag, and I
Mission
don't think he
Impossible.
has any kind of swag compared to Ray Liotta in this film in the Mission Impossible movie. So I definitely wouldn't give it to him. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Gord King confirms he's pretty cool in Ministry. It was a silly movie, but Henry was cool as shit. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think to conclude this stream, I imagine both of us are going to give a recommend for Goodfellas. Definitely a great film. There's just maybe like 2 or 3 scenes you'll want to skip. But other than that, just exciting, dramatic, intense thriller. Boy, I mean, you're not going to be bored watching this, especially your first time through. Goodfellas is it's the movie to conquer movies, really. And if you're a fan of Scorsese's style, you need to give this a chance. You need to see this, and it requires a lot of thought. It's not an easy watch. It's it gets deep, and it's a challenge, but it's a challenge worth conquering. you're going to have a great time, and you're going to mourn the loss of Ray Liotta that much more because he is just absolutely phenomenal in this. So I give a recommend. Luke, do you have any final thoughts on this great film,
A lot of
Goodfellas?
pressure. Everyone's giving it a 10 out of 10. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 too, because, it's not usual for me to highly enjoy a movie, especially an older movie after watching it for the first time. But I did really enjoy it. It was Jackson's right. It was very intense. It does make you mourn the loss of Ray Liotta a lot more than you probably already have, and just a very blunt movie. So give it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. All right, guys. Well, I think that ends this stream for us. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoy what we had to say today, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Check out Luke's channel down here too, Galliardo. He doesn't do very much, but you know what? He's one of the boys and he loves to talk movies. So we
I play
appreciate
games
and play
sometimes.
games and he play games. So we appreciate you, Luke, and we appreciate you, dear viewer, for watching us. So thanks so much for joining us. If you want to join us next time, I think we're probably going to talk about Brothers, Tobey Maguire's
Yeah,
insane film that probably went under your radar, where
so
he
good.
flips out. One of the best scenes. Really,
PTSD.
yeah, we it's a touching story.
Yeah,
It's a
very.
really hard one to get through,
Yeah, yeah.
but
We're gonna have to get that on DVD.
we're gonna
So we
try
can.
to we're gonna try to watch it next week. It is not available on any streaming platform. You can't even rent it on Amazon. That's how it's so strange. We're gonna try to get a hold of it so we can talk about it. But make sure to stay tuned for that. But as always, we appreciate all